Welcome to Shatter.
It wasn't even a fight. No shouting. No ultimatums. Just her standing in the kitchen one Thursday night, eyeliner still fresh, heels already on, tossing that line at me like it was nothing. I just feel stuck. You know? I need to breathe. I need to feel alive again. She said it with a sip of wine and a shrug, like she was talking about going for a jog, not walking out on our life. I looked at her, hair curled, smile tight, phone lighting up with some girl group chat. The same one that always said things like, "Wilo," and "Girl, live your life." So you're saying, what? We're a cage now. She blinked, annoyed. Don't be dramatic. I just need a reset. A few nights out, no pressure, no questions. Just fun. That word again. Fun. I hadn't heard it from her in months. Not when we watched movies, not when I cooked her favorite meals, not when we traveled last summer. But now, suddenly, it was back. Just not with me. I didn't argue. Didn't guilt trip. Didn't even flinch. Because the moment she used the word escape, I knew. This wasn't about space. This wasn't about dancing. This was her way of rewriting the rules. Turning us into me and my personal time. That night, I sat on the couch, lights off, TV playing something I couldn't focus on. She left in a black dress I didn't recognize, something new. Maybe something she bought for the reset. No goodbye. No kiss. Just perfume in the hallway and the click of the door. I didn't text her. Didn't ask what time she'd be back. But in that moment, something inside me tilted. Not like heartbreak, more like detachment. Like watching someone steal your favorite shirt and realizing it doesn't fit you anymore. She thought it was just a night out. She had no idea. It was the last night she left we behind. The first night she went out, I didn't wait up. I heard the door unlock sometime past 3. Heels on hardwood. Water running in the bathroom. She moved through the house like I wasn't even there. And maybe I wasn't, not in her world anymore. I lay in bed with my back turned, eyes open. No words. No questions. No drama. She didn't explain, and I didn't ask. That was our new language, absence. In the morning, she moved around the kitchen like it was any other day. Music on. Coffee brewing. There was no trace of the night she had just lived. Except maybe the way she smiled at her phone, not at me. She glanced over and asked if I wanted breakfast. I nodded once, but didn't speak. Her eyes didn't linger. She moved on like I was part of the furniture. That was night 1. Then came night 2. Then 4. Then 7. Girls' night. Birthday thing. Some DJ she used to love. It didn't matter. The details changed. The pattern didn't. And I didn't resist it. That's what threw her off. She thought my silence was a green light. She didn't realize it was a countdown. I wasn't tracking her every move. I wasn't sitting by the door. I was watching from a different place now, the kind of place people go right before they disappear. She started coming home later and laughing softer. She smiled more at the screen in her hand than the man in her kitchen. I caught glimpses of messages she tilted away from my eyes. The kind of secrecy that tries to look casual. But I wasn't blind. Just quiet. One night she came home in a dress I'd never seen before. Hair curled, makeup still perfect despite the hour. She dropped her heels by the door and didn't even look my way. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because of anger. I'd moved past that. I was grieving something that had already died but hadn't been buried yet. She wasn't unfaithful. Not physically, not that I could prove. But I saw the signs. The tilt of her head when she read a text. The lipstick applied right before leaving. The way her laugh started sounding rehearsed. One evening, she asked if something was wrong. Said I'd been quiet lately. I smiled at her, the kind of smile that doesn't touch the eyes. Told her I'd just been thinking. She waited for more. But I had no more to give. That night, I watched her from across the living room. She scrolled through her phone like I wasn't sitting 10 feet away. I looked around the space we used to share and realized. We didn't live together anymore. We just occupied the same silence. And in that silence, something cold began to grow. She didn't know it yet. But I was already halfway gone. It didn't happen all at once. You don't just disappear overnight, not if you want it to sting. You vanish in fragments. Small, quiet movements. Invisible to anyone who isn't paying attention. And she wasn't. I started with the geolocation. The shared tracking app we once used for safety disabled. No more, just checking where you were moments. That little icon she never cared about until it was gone. Next came the passwords. Email. Bank accounts. Social media. Anything she once had access to, even if she never used it, changed. just enough to plant seeds of doubt she couldn't quite name. I stopped using the house Wi-Fi, created a burner email, rerouted mail to a rented P.O. box, transferred part of my income to a private account she didn't know existed. And then I started moving things. Not clothes. Not the big, obvious stuff. Books. Tools. A second phone charger. One drawer at a time, to a quiet, furnished apartment across town. No lease in our name. No trail she could follow. Just a space I built for silence. I didn't announce it. Didn't say, I need space too. Because that would have invited negotiation. And I was past negotiation. One night, she walked in just after midnight. Perfume trailing behind her. Heels in her hand, laughing at something still fresh in her memory. But the house didn't greet her the same way. The lights were dim. Dinner on the table untouched. Her favorite wine unopened. No music. No warmth. No me. She called out, unsure. No response. She checked her phone. No message. No missed call. But for the first time, she noticed the subtle shift. My phone was locked. A new code. Notifications silenced. I had become what she once accused me of being, distant. Only now, it wasn't emotional. It was logistical. I still came home sometimes. Still played my part. But I was never fully there. I moved like a shadow through the house, saying little, watching everything. She tried to act normal. She mentioned a new club night she wanted to try. Laughed about how the DJ was our vibe. But we didn't have a vibe anymore. She reached for my arm once, absent-minded. I shifted away. Not dramatically, just enough. She hesitated. Blinked. Didn't say anything. But I could see the gears turning. She didn't know what was happening, only that something was. She thought I was sulking. That eventually, I'd snap, yell, cry, beg her to stay home. But I wasn't sulking. I was staging a quiet exit. And the best part? She still believed she was in control. It took 3 days for her to start noticing the silence. Not just the kind where no one talks, the kind that settles into walls. Thick, cold, permanent. She came home to find lights off when they used to be on. Dinner unmade. No background music playing from the speaker she always forgot to turn off. The kitchen was clean. Too clean. Like no one had touched anything in hours. She texted me once that evening. Where are you? No emoji. Just words. Short. Tense. I read it. Didn't respond. I watched the dots appear. Then vanish. Then nothing. She waited up that night. Pretended she wasn't. I saw the hallway light under the door when I came in past midnight. She was curled up on the couch with a half-finished drink, wearing the same dress she'd posted in hours earlier, the one with the glittered straps and that fake carelessness she'd learned from Instagram stories. Her eyes followed me as I walked past. She said something like, "Are you seriously doing this because I went out?" But it wasn't a question. It was a shield. A last-minute attempt to make me the problem before she had to admit something was off. I didn't answer. I showered. Went to bed. Let her sit there in the living room, surrounded by the echoes of a party that had ended hours ago. She texted me again the next day. Longer this time. Asking why I was being weird. Said we could talk if I wanted. There it was again, if I wanted. Like my silence was a mood she could negotiate with. But silence wasn't my protest. It was my resignation. She'd built her identity around being desired, admired. And for a while, I played that role. The patient one. The stable one. The man who didn't mind if she flirted for attention as long as she came home. But I wasn't that man anymore. Because she wasn't coming home. Not really. Her body did. Her scent. Her shoes on the floor. But her focus? Her energy? Her warmth? She'd given that away to the night. And I wasn't going to beg for the leftovers. The calls started after that. Short ones first. Then longer. Then voicemail she didn't know I saved, not to hurt her, but to remember what desperation sounded like when it finally arrived. In one of them, she said, "Can we just talk about this like adults?" But I was done talking. She expected a fight. An explosion. A scene. Instead, she got a mirror. One she couldn't look away from. I didn't ghost her. Ghost haunt. I evaporated. I let her sit in the question, did he really leave because of a club? But that was never the question. The real question was, when did I stop being worth staying home for? I used to go with her. Back when it was our thing. We'd get dressed up, grab late-night food, maybe dance a little, then head home before the lights came on and the music turned hollow. But something changed. The last time I went out with her, I remember it too clearly. She wore a red dress that wasn't for me. The kind of dress people wear when they want to be noticed by strangers, not loved by someone familiar. I stood by the bar, holding her coat, her drink, her phone. I wasn't a partner that night. I was a placeholder. She was on the floor, laughing, spinning, pressed between bodies I didn't recognize. Not doing anything technically wrong. But the intent was loud. The way she moved, the way she smiled at someone behind her shoulder, it wasn't mine anymore. And that's when it hit me. She didn't need someone to dance with. She needed someone to witness her freedom, not celebrate it, validate it, to make it feel justified. And I played that part. The silent audience to her transformation. The man in the shadows while she chased the spotlight. Later that night, in the car, she said something I'll never forget. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't even meant to hurt. You just don't get it. This isn't about you. And she was right. That was the moment I realized it hadn't been about me in a long time. She didn't want partnership. She wanted contrast. A home to return to after the chaos. A man who stayed grounded while she flew off the rails. Someone to hold the door open when she came back from pretending to be someone else. But I couldn't be her stability if she kept pulling the ground out from under us. The disrespect wasn't in what she did. It was in what she dismissed. Every quiet thing I held together while she searched for thrills. Every moment I gave her grace instead of judgment. And she returned it with absence. With laughter pointed outward. With attention offered to people who didn't even know her middle name. It wasn't a betrayal I could name on paper. No screenshots. No hotel rooms. But it was real. And it was enough. Enough to start closing the door. Because once you realize someone would rather be impressive to strangers than intimate with you, you stop offering parts of yourself to be ignored. You stop standing at the edge of the dance floor, hoping they'll look back. You turn, and you walk away. It took 5 days. Not 5 days of anger or shouting, just stillness. No arguments. No drama. No closure. Just space. And the space started swallowing her. I didn't leave a note. Didn't pack in front of her. Didn't slam a door or make a speech. I just stopped being where she expected me to be. At first, she thought it was petty. She called once. Then twice. Then a voice message, trying to sound light. Asking if I was done sulking. I didn't respond. Then came the texts. Not emotional, not yet. She led with logic, said she didn't understand what I was doing. That if I had a problem, we could just communicate like adults. But the irony of that wasn't lost on me. She only believed in communication when it served her. When silence became inconvenient, suddenly it was a crisis. By day 6, she started reaching out to other people. My brother. A coworker. Even my mother. The same woman she once called too opinionated. Now she was asking if she'd heard from me. I got the calls. I ignored them all. She thought I was trying to punish her. Thought I was doing all this out of wounded pride. But I wasn't angry. I was done. And that's a different kind of silence. Not empty absolute. The kind that doesn't ask for understanding. Doesn't need revenge. Just peace. I heard from a mutual friend that she was asking around, not about where I went, but why. Why I suddenly vanished. Why I didn't yell. Didn't accuse. Didn't chase her the way she was used to being chased. And that's when it hit her. That maybe this wasn't a tantrum. Maybe this was a decision. She showed up at my parents' house. Said she was just checking in. They didn't invite her in. She asked if I was okay. My father told her I was better than I'd ever been. She looked confused. Like someone who lost something they didn't even know they wanted to keep. She started showing up in places we used to go together. A coffee shop. A bookstore. Once even the gym, where she once said she hated the smell. She wasn't trying to find me. She was trying to rewind. But it was too late. Her timeline was broken. She'd pressed fast forward through everything that mattered. And now she wanted to hit rewind. But I wasn't there anymore. Not in the places. Not in the story. Not in her reach. That's what truly broke her. Not my words. Not my leaving. But the realization that I had stopped existing where she still needed me to be. She found me once. Not physically, but digitally. Buried in a bank statement. A small transfer from our joint account to an unfamiliar name. A name she never thought to question. That's how she realized I wasn't gone. I was relocating. Not just space. Energy. Attention. Identity. She sent a message the same day. Just one line. Can we talk? I read it. Didn't answer. Because what was left to say? We weren't fighting. We weren't fixing. We were just done pretending we were still us. She had already spoken her truth, months ago, in every club night, every unread text, every empty smile she gave to strangers. And now she wanted a final scene. Something dramatic. Something cinematic. But she wasn't getting that. She was getting nothing. No apology. No counterattack. No goodbye. Because silence was no longer my weapon. It was my boundary. And she couldn't cross it. I watched from a distance as she started reaching for people I hadn't spoken to in years. Digging through fragments, trying to find the man she used to control. One friend told me she looked tired. Said her confidence had turned brittle, still standing tall, but the cracks were visible now. She thought I was being cruel. But it wasn't cruelty. It was consequence. Because for years, I held everything together in quiet ways. Paid the bills, fixed the leaks, covered the emotional gap she left behind. And when I finally chose myself, it felt like abandonment to her. But really, it was liberation. Mine. I didn't post anything. Didn't change my relationship status. Didn't make a show of moving on. Because I wasn't trying to prove a point. I was just done being a footnote in my own life. She sent one last message a week later. A longer one this time. Measured. Almost rehearsed. She said she'd never meant to hurt me. That she lost herself. That things got out of hand. She said she missed the way things used to be. And that if I could just talk to her, even once, we might find our way back. But we wouldn't. Because you can't rebuild a house on burned blueprints. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted her to suffer. But because I had nothing left to give. She had chosen late nights, loud music, and empty affirmations. And now, she could keep them. I had chosen peace. And peace doesn't negotiate. I live in a smaller place now. Nothing fancy. One bedroom, one chair on the balcony, one coffee mug I actually like. There's no clutter. No noise. No perfume in the air that doesn't belong to me. Sometimes I sit outside at night, watch the traffic lights blink through the glass, and realize I haven't felt this clear in years. Not light, not happy. Just undisturbed. And that's a victory no one talks about. The quiet wins. No fights. No fake makeups. No pretending everything is fine just because the bills are paid and the dishes are done. She doesn't know where I live now. She tried to find out. Asked mutuals, checked old routines, even looked up my work hours. But I stopped moving in the way she remembered. I changed patterns. Shifted routes. Started showing up in my own life, not as a role, but as a man. I go to the gym now. Not for revenge. Not to post about it. Just to feel my breath again. To build something real, not to impress, but to remember. I read more. I cook for one. And I don't check her socials anymore. Not out of discipline. Out of disinterest. Because the version of me that cared about being seen by her, he's gone. He disappeared somewhere between the first unanswered text and the last ignored moment of connection. She's out there still, I'm sure. Still going out. Still searching for the buzz that wore off the moment the lights came on at 2 a.m. But now, when she laughs in a dark room full of strangers, there's no one at home waiting to hear how her night went. No one holding her coat. No one warming up dinner. No one asking how she really feels beneath all that glitter and performance. And maybe that's what she misses. Not me. Not the man. But the mirror. Because I was the last place she felt seen without filters. And now, she's just a reflection looking for someone to bounce back from. I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. But I hope she understands someday. She didn't lose me in a single night. She lost me in thousands of small ways. A slow erosion of trust, warmth, attention, all spent on people who never stayed. And I simply stopped being the man who waited for the leftovers. I became the man who walked away, not out of spite, but self-respect. I saw her name light up my screen like a ghost tapping on the window. Weeks had passed. Enough time for her world to settle into the silence I left behind. It was a short message. Just 5 words. Can we talk? Please. No explanation. No apology. No context. Just the soft tap of someone realizing they're no longer holding the cards. I didn't reply. I didn't even open it. Not because I was angry, but because by the time the question came, the answer had already lived in my silence. She didn't get it, not back then. She thought people stay for comfort, for history, for obligation. But people don't stay because of what they had. They stay because of how they're treated now. And what she gave me was distance wrapped in excuses. Freedom dressed up as fun. Indifference masked as self-care. I used to wait for her attention. Count the minutes between replies. Measure my worth in reactions. Now her name was just a notification I didn't feel the need to clear. She followed up later that day. Another message, longer this time. She said she had been thinking a lot. Said things felt unfinished. Said she deserved a conversation. Deserved. That word stuck with me. Because entitlement always shows its face at the end. But closure isn't something you get from someone. It's something you earn when you stop needing their version of the story. And I didn't need her version anymore. Mine was enough. Mine was real. I left with facts. Memories. Screenshots in my mind of nights she never realized I was watching. She wanted the final say. But I already had it. Not in a message. Not in a speech. In a choice. To stay silent. To not give her the emotional echo she was hoping for. She could scream into the void if she wanted. But the void wouldn't answer. I blocked her number later that week. Not out of cruelty. Out of respect for myself. She had her chance to choose presence. She chose performance. Now all she had left was digital desperation. And I was no longer the man on the other end of the line. I saw her once after everything. Weeks had passed. I was in a cafe I'd never taken her to. New part of town. New rhythm. New life. I was just picking up a black coffee. No cream. No sugar. Simple. And then, there she was. Hair tied back. No makeup. Wearing a hoodie that wasn't meant to impress anyone. She didn't see me at first. Then our eyes met, just for a second. Long enough for recognition to land like a stone in her chest. She froze. Half step forward, then hesitation. Her lips parted like she was going to say something. But I didn't move. I didn't smile. Didn't nod. Didn't offer anything at all. Just looked. And let her feel the space between the man I was and the man I'd become. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't heartbroken. I was free. And the silence between us? It wasn't awkward. It was earned. She stepped forward slowly. Said something soft. Maybe a greeting. Maybe my name. I couldn't tell. I was already walking away. Not rushed. Not bitter. Just done. She watched me leave. I could feel it. That unspoken weight behind me, her hoping I'd turn around, give her something, anything. But I didn't. Because there was nothing left to return to. She had asked for freedom. And now she had it. But freedom without foundation isn't peace, it's exile. She learned that too late. And me? I found peace not in revenge, not in closure. But in disappearance. In walking out of a story that was never going to be rewritten the way it needed to be. They say the opposite of love is hate. It's not. It's indifference. And that's where she found me. Not in the clubs, not in the calls. But in the quiet where my love used to live. She stood alone in that cafe, holding nothing but the memory of who I used to be. While I stepped out into a future that no longer had her name on it. And that was the most honest ending she was ever going to get. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe. It only gets stronger from here.